is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan, and we're doing things a little bit differently for our Chicken Sisters Season 2 reviews. I will be joined by a rotating cast of lovely co-hosts who have agreed to join me to chat the Chicken Sisters. And kicking off Season 2 is Brian Herald, a regular co-host of the Deck the Hallmark podcast. Thanks for joining me, Brian.
Thank you for having me. It's truly an honor.
In addition to your work over on Deck the Hallmark, you have a pretty special project with your sons that you work on. You guys write books together. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. This is something I rarely think about and even more rarely talk about because it's just not top of mind usually. But my sons, I have two sons, 10 and an 8, almost 9. And they pretty creative imaginations and came up with these stories and would make up these stories about these characters in their heads or, in their imaginations that to them were, I don't know, more real than I thought they were. But I decided, I'm like, these are pretty creative. So I'm going to start writing these down. And it turned out like the more that they would talk about it, the more of a complete story it sounded like. So as a sort of a gift or, a gift to them and a project for me, I was like, I could turn these into a fun little story series. So that's what we did. So wrote out a couple storylines and worked on some illustrations with them, some ideas for drawings, and we turned them into some children's books that I've self-published and kind of, that was sort of a marketing project, like, can I do this type of thing? Like, turn it into a little fun thing to do on the side. And for them, they were just like, this is great. I have a book that I wrote in my hand. So yeah, turned into a little project. We have 4 books that we've written now. And like once a week, they're like, oh, Dad, I got an idea for a book. I got a new idea. And I'm like, all right, write it down. As soon as you're ready, we can do more. So yeah, that's been a fun thing to do. And we always, it's fun to always have those and give those out to the cousins and the grandparents and the friends and all the fun people.
That's so fun. I love that. Well, we will link your website in our show notes for anybody who wants to take a look at those books. Before we get into the details of the Chicken Sisters, our co-hosts for the next couple of months all are coming at this show from a very different place. So I'd love to hear from you where you are with the Chicken Sisters. Did you watch season 1? What did you think of it if you did? And how are we feeling going into a second season?
Yeah, I did not watch along in season 1 in real time. On Deck the Hallmark, they covered it with Jax, and I heard a lot of the episodes from the room next door. Like I could hear it going on and hear the reactions, but I was not up to date on what was going on. But in preparation for this, I binged the entire first season.
You did not.
I did over the last week or so. And it was actually easy though, because I did enjoy what I was watching. So that made it a lot easier. And also, of course, I listened to all of your recaps with, had to go through all of them with Wendy, because I just need to know where you're at, and like what you were catching and picking up on. And so I did all the research and now I am fully up to date and I feel like I'm really prepared for this kickoff of the second season.
Oh, well, you've set the bar very high. Based on that research, then you know why I'm here alone today.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
We were a little bit of a house divided on this series last season, but I want to say, having seen all of season 1 and now the first episode of season 2, Leah Thompson posted a promo yesterday encouraging people to watch the show because, as we'll talk about in a minute, she directed this first episode. She said you don't need to have watched season 1 to get into season 2.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, you got to say that, first of all. So I get it. I get it. But I feel like there is truth in that, though, in the sense where my wife started watching this with me around episode 4 or 5 of season 1. And she sat down and I just paused the TV. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And I gave her all the high points. Like, this is what's going on. Here's the tea. And it was enough. And as things happen, I would just pause the TV, give her a little background and keep going. And it was enough for her to see the rest of the season through. So I think that if you are a casual viewer and you jump in on this, there's enough here that the high level stuff that goes on, you can enjoy. But I feel like you really get a lot more when you know the nitty gritty details and the connections between the people and what the source of the drama and why something means so much or is so like, oh boy, here we go, because you get the history. So I feel like you can jump in and have a good time and enjoy it, but you do get so much more when you're in on the scoop, when you got the hot goss, if you will. So I don't know. I feel like anybody could jump in and enjoy it because basically, yeah, once you understand, okay, this is what happened, this is the high level, this is where we are now, let's go from here. It's not so confusing and so many people that you can't figure out the dynamic. You kind of get a sense from watching it who they are and their connection to each other. So I feel like, yeah, you gotta say that, but also I feel like there's some truth to it. What did you think?
Well, I agree with you. I think people would be well served to have watched season 1, but again, this series is not. I was in my head trying to think of a comparison of a show where if you jumped in season 2, you'd be like, I cannot come up with one off the top of my head right now. But this is not that show. I mean, you could certainly sit down and enjoy it, and you might be like, why do I care about May's dad or whatever? But you can follow along and still enjoy it. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do a very quick little news and note segment. The showrunner changed between season 1 and season 2. So season 1, the show was adapted from the book by Annie Mabane, who is the executive producer of one of my favorite shows on television, Shrinking.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
She's still credited as the creator of the show, as the one who made it for television. But the showrunner is now Erin Gibson. This is a huge departure from what Erin Gibson has done before. Erin wrote on one episode of season 1, but she previously wrote on 54 episodes of Game of Thrones. Her big thing, though, is she has a wildly successful podcast. It's a pop culture podcast, which turned into a TV show called Throwing Shade. So kind of interesting to see some of the potential influence we'll get there with her as head writer and showrunner. Did you feel like there was a difference in tone between season 1 and what we've seen in season 2?
Not really. Like, I thought that it's weird with the first episode of a season because you're doing a lot of groundwork, and so it's hard to really, set tone and establish too much because you don't want to scare everyone off. You don't want it to be all inside jokes. So I felt like it was a really balanced episode in that sense. Like, the tone of it was very easy to get into, but enough stuff from before where it's like, well, there was one little part that I'll get into later on when we talk about this during the segments that threw me, where I was like, that feels very different. And it might be, maybe that's her influence where she's like, this is something we got to introduce. But overall, I thought it really lined up. Overall, I feel like it felt very similar, but there were, maybe this is her influence, but there were a few little things where I was like, that feels a little different. And also, I am coming off of literally binging it. So it's so fresh. Yeah, it's so fresh, and it was all together. So I didn't have that week in between, really spaced out. So my experience with it is like almost not fair to them. But yeah.
This was directed, as mentioned, by Leah Thompson. She's directed some other things before. She's never directed an episode of The Chicken Sisters, but lots of network television like The Goldbergs, Resident Alien, and a series called Will Trent. Kind of excited to see her direct. It'll be interesting to see who's directing future episodes.
Yeah, and I feel like that also keeps people around. Like, you have a really good cast, and so if they're more involved, they have more authority in the series, then they're more likely to stick with it. And I think people who are really established and are big names like Leah Thompson, that's great for her and for the series, because I think you don't want her to feel like this is just a gig, like it's great that she isn't fully invested there in that role.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it makes them want to promote the show. Look, I directed this one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, gives them more motivation there. Well, we're going to take a quick break and come right back with our first impression. Well, Brian, I am dying to hear, what is your first impression of The Chicken Sisters, Season 2, Episode 1, The Train Has Left the Station, y'all?
My first impression here was a good start to the season. A very basic takeaway. It's good to be back in Merinac, y'all. I feel like they set the table for this season effectively, which is all you want from a first episode, I feel like. I think, they got everyone back together one way or another. They ended it with a proper conflict, and it left me wanting to watch episode 2. And so that's really like all you can hope for. And I feel like they didn't try to do too much. And so I was really happy with it. And I thought it was a really good start to the season.
Yeah, tonally, I think it really mirrors episode 1 of season 1, where they threw so much information at you. And then episode 2 really pulls back and they start to focus in. I like kind of this frenetic pace. Wendy and I talk all the time. We're raised on Gilmore Girls, like that fast pace, keep it moving. We love that. Yeah. So as much as this episode did feel like a lot at once, it was great. And I'm almost a little nervous for I know, 2 through 4 are going to kind of start to stretch things out a little bit. My first impression is this episode's got more threads than a grandma's quilting bee, an ode to our narrator and her many Southern colloquialisms.
Very nice.
All right. Well, let's talk what we liked about this episode.
Yeah, so this since you just mentioned the new showrunner is more sort of ingrained in pop culture. That's more her world. I did notice some maybe not more, but maybe more pop culture references. Like it felt like a little more of that. So maybe she'll bring that to the show. And that was just a one-off. I just remembered and realized that I noticed that. Kitchen Clash, the season promo for that show, when they did that at the end of the episode, that got me good. That was effective as I think they wanted it to be with me. I feel like most of the episode, the drama wasn't peaking a lot. It was very even keeled. And at the end, when they showed that promo and that little tidbit about the kiss, was like, oh boy. And this is what I mean, where having all the background of the relationships and the connections, it means a lot more. That is salacious at its face, but knowing, the history of everybody and what's going on and how now they've come together and they're all on the same team, to throw that into the mix, it's like, oh boy. And I feel like it was just perfectly done. I was really, really happy with that. Mama Nancy and Mama Gus as roommates could be a lot of fun. Really, that could be a lot of fun. It could get old, but it could be pretty fun because it'll be a lot of the same oil and water stuff,
Sure.
Shauna being Shauna, just do not change her a bit. She is the best. She is so funny. And that's the way that she was brought into this and introduced and the way that she was developed, I feel like was perfect because you can have her do whatever you need this show to do. Any left turn you need, it's like, oh, we'll have Shauna do that. And you can throw the show off the rails really quickly. And it's in her nature. It's in her character. And so, I feel like those are the things that really stood out to me. I'm glad that Shauna's there, prominent, and they brought her in and sort of was like, this is my new shirt. It's like, good. Shauna's still doing this stuff. So keep that going. So yeah, those are some of the things that I really liked that stood out to me.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I like, on a little bit of softer side, we get some introspection from Gus. We see some growth from her.
Yeah.
She overhears her daughters joking about kind of how she was absent and went so far as, to disown Amanda. And that kind of pushes her to look into her past and maybe finally reveal who May's dad is. And fingers crossed, we know David James Elliott is joining the cast. Please let that, it's got to be Gus's love interest. There's no other, I refuse to accept any other possibility.
Yeah.
And honestly, in season 1, I couldn't even have seen her in a relationship. And now I'm like, bring him back. Gus needs a boyfriend. Loved the line Gus decided today was the day she made her daughter more important than her broken heart. In other relationship news, I'm so happy. We knew it was going to happen, but we were like, how are we going to get Sabrina and Lindsay back? And so easy. They're here.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. It doesn't feel clunky. It easily could have, and it doesn't at all. And we'll just stay through May's wedding. Question for you. Did you feel the Lindsay, Frankie, maybe romantic undertones in season 1?
It's so funny. I did, and then I questioned it. I'm like, oh no, Lindsay's not into it. Clearly, that's going to be the end of it. And then the last episode, I'm like, oh, was this? And I sort of wondered, was this planned, or did they at the end? They're like, we got to spice this up. We need to inject this another more question here. I don't know if that was the plan. And so I left the end of season 1 like, how authentic is that? But I did pick up on it, and I definitely like. It was funny because when it was first introduced, I'm like, is this just me, or am I noticing something here? And then it just went, we had that sad moment of "you're such a good friend." I was like, oh man, I guess that's the end of that. So yeah, I picked up on that in the first season.
Yeah, we get a throwback to that, when we meet Frankie's boyfriend, Dudley. I love the looks on. I just was so glad in that moment because I don't know if they're going to go there, but I know that there's a portion of the viewing audience that believes that there is something there. So at least they're giving it to us. I really enjoyed that. And like you said, I loved the kitchen class promo. That secret footage was so layered. Like when you see the Amanda Sergio kiss, of course, the first thought is Frank Jr. is going to be pissed and he's going to use this to his advantage.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to milk it for all it's worth. But then when you see that Nancy sees it and you know that throughout this entire episode, she was feeling torn about her relationship with Frank and kind of trying to bring him back in. And now Frank has all the power.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. That was like at its face, there's the kiss happening and it's like, oh, that's not good. And then Nancy knowing and seeing it and not saying anything, that's not good. But then you see that look on Frank's face, you're like, that's even worse. Cause now, yeah, you're right. The power dynamic there is like, oh boy. And he's still got those papers. Oh boy.
Oh boy. I know.
Oh boy.
And one final little, like, the music in this episode was great.
Yeah.
Intermittently, it was good in the first season too. I actually rewatched the final few minutes of season 1 because I was trying to remember. I forgot that they were franchising. I was like, what is happening with these two stores? And they play a High Woman song in the end of season 1. This episode once again returned with great music, which is just, it levels up the viewing experience for me.
Yeah, I agree. The music plays a big role. Yeah.
Let's talk what we wished for, what didn't hit, what questions you had. Let's get into it.
All right. So my big concern here is, and the more I think about it, the more I realize this is probably the reality and this makes a lot of sense. I'm afraid that this season 2 is going to take place during the 2 weeks leading up to the wedding. And that's it. Like, I feel like it's going to be heavy on the wedding planning. And I could be wrong, but I don't like that. I feel like it could be too much of a crutch. It could be too much of a time filler. There's definitely some drama you can throw in related to it, but I just don't like the idea of we're gonna center this around a wedding planning time frame. And I'm a little skeptical there. The more I think about it, I'm like, well, they're staying for 2 weeks up past the wedding. So Lindsay and her mom. And to me, that says this season is going to be a wedding planning season. So I don't know. I'm nervous about that.
Yeah, it makes a great season finale, right? If you think about it, like it all
Yep.
comes together at the wedding.
Yep.
When you think about it, season 1, I don't think we have an exact timeline, but it was a very short period of time that season took place over.
Yeah.
So I hadn't thought about that, but it does make perfect sense. It keeps Sabrina and Lindsay in the picture the entire time.
Yep.
Great season finale material. Yeah. And there is a lot to dig into here for sure. But then that makes me nervous because, I really was sad to see Jake Foy not in this first episode. And
Yes.
if this is only 2 weeks, we could just see him returning for the wedding, which would be a real bummer to have Patrick by himself all season long. I'm happy because I assume that means Jake was off doing other projects. So happy for him. This is a small storyline. I don't like the misdirection we're getting with the Pastor McGregor proposal. That's not what's happening.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, come, Nancy, just everybody leave her alone. It's not what's happening. It just isn't. And I'm not enjoying the, I have a proposal for, come on.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
Yeah. The one thing about that I feel like I'm giving them a little grace here is last season when there was that question about what's Gus up to in the freezer here, what's she up? They answered that kind of quickly, like relatively quickly, because they're like, all right, we know you want to know. So my fingers crossed, they know that nobody wants this, and we'll find out relatively soon what his question is.
Yeah, nobody wants 8 episodes of this, right?
Exactly.
Same thing with like who's Jen to Gus, exactly.
Yes.
In other storylines was the May's conversation with Farmer Jarvis.
Yeah.
I just thought, oh, come. When I was talking to Wendy about this, she goes, "Is season 2 as hokey as season 1?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." I mean, it's kind of the vibe of the show.
Yeah.
And that really was one of the scenes that solidified it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Jr. remains the absolute worst, as does his dude bro mentor, Christian. His course on unlocking the divine masculine is like, just makes my skin crawl.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow they have managed to create both the most vile and milquetoast villain in Frank Jr. And I love it. I love that everything in their dude chicken shop is frozen and pre-made.
Oh, it's great.
Great choice there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we're talking wishes, but it's mostly like, I hate Frank Jr. so much. I hated him all first season. Big applause to that actor for making me hate him so much.
Yeah.
And my final thing is, how long are we going to have to wonder what the meaning of the train arm being stuck down? Like, that's going to come back in the finale.
Of
Like,
course.
someone's not going to be able to get to the wedding.
Yeah.
I see it all now.
Yep. Or somebody's going to take it down and everyone's going to be mad. Like, why'd you take down our train arm? Like, we like having our useless train arm. Put it back. So,
now I have no reason why I'm late places or something.
Right. Yeah.
ridiculous.
Oh, I don't want to go here. I'll just take the long way and stop at the train arm. Like, no big deal. I had a couple more little things too that this was one of the things you liked that really stuck out to me. It stood out to me as like it didn't seem to fit in, and it was Gus's softening. And it sort of at the end of season 1, she got in the wheelchair. You're like, okay, Gus is like, her outer shell is softening and she's becoming easier to deal with. I am afraid that she's become like a caricature of a curmudgeon, and she can no longer be taken seriously as a really mean, grumpy person. Like she goes to ask about her dad, and it's almost like she knows Gus is going to give in eventually. And then Gus does go on that reflection tour where she's looking at the picture. She's picking the flowers. Like, I'm like, I don't know if I buy this, and I don't know if I like it. Like, and I'm afraid Gus is all of a sudden they're going to need her to be mean again, and people aren't going to take it as seriously because she's kind of gone too far into this softer, older, sickly version of Gus where we got to like look at her differently. So that was one thing I'm watching closely, I would say, I guess, is her emotion and how seriously she's taken and how mean she can be, and if people react to it the way they used to, like she could be mean and people could just be like, oh, that's just Gus, don't worry about it. But I feel like you lose a little bit of edge if people aren't really afraid of Gus. And so that's something that I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, is that true to who her character is as we know it to be? Is a great question. Me, I'm just like, I want everyone to get along.
I know, that is fun too. That is fun.
No, I mean, I love the drama of it all. It's interesting because we didn't see a lot. I did not rewatch season 1 in preparation for season 2. But in my memory, we didn't see a lot from Gus's perspective in season 1. It was all how people perceived her. And again, season 1 is based on a book. Season 2 is not. Like, they're just making it up. So we don't know where this season is going. Although there were some departures from the book. The main story in season 1 was the same. And so it remains to see what Gus's growth is going to be like.
Mm-hmm. That was a question I had I didn't know that, whether season 1 was the book total and season 2 is all fresh, which I don't know. I guess that's kind of good to hear.
Yeah, the writer is listed as an executive producer, so she's still, KJ Dell'Antonia is still involved with the show in some way, and so hopefully guiding the storyline. But I'll admit I don't fully understand how executive producing works, and if that's just like an honorary thing, like, hey, we're using your intellectual property, and here, therefore you get that credit. I don't know how involved she is.
I think sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It depends.
You want to talk, did you see that?
Yeah, one thing that stood out to me, I know she has to do this. Lindsay hiding in the closet. Yeah. Just a bold move on the first floor of a busy house. Like you could be in there all night. Yeah. Like that's just, I don't know. It just seems like a weird bad hider. So, and a detail that I feel like they haven't covered at all yet, and maybe this will be the source of conflict to come. It's how do they decide on which recipes they're going to use here for Chicken Sisters? Because both restaurants, assuming they each had their own secret proprietary way of doing their chicken and their sides and all this stuff, they're going to come together and they're going to have to pick one or make a new one, which I doubt they'll want to do. They'll want to use a tried and true traditional recipe. How is that? Like, this is all like background logistical business organization stuff that I just want to see. Like, I want to be in the boardroom here while they're making these decisions. So is this going to come up? Have they already had these discussions? What's the recipe here? Like, who wins? Whose recipes are they going with? Because I feel like maybe that'll be a huge argument coming up. But I want to know. Like, I want to know about that.
Yeah, but we're 9 months into the future, right? So it seems like if they were going to have that discussion, they would have already had it.
You would hope, yeah.
So maybe they're just glossing right over that. There's too many details to figure out. Because the other thing that seems to me is, at one point, Franny's is the one that they seem to be spending most of their time in. But at one point, Gus is back in Mimi's.
Yeah.
And May goes over there. She's like, oh, we didn't need anybody over there. But it doesn't actually appear that Mimi's is open. That was the little confusing part to me. I couldn't quite figure out what was going on, who works where. Because Sergio was, of course, the Mimi's chef, but he appears to be over at Franny's. That's a little confusing to me how they're balancing their time between these two restaurants.
Yeah.
And I actually have to admit that when we see that opening black and white throwback scene and they talk about the train and they talk about the Chicken Sisters restaurant, I had completely forgotten that was the whole origin, that there was an original Chicken Sisters restaurant. I only remembered that there were two rival restaurants that opened in the same town. And I was like, are we rewriting history? No, I just have the memory of a goldfish. So
I forgot that. I didn't catch that either. So that's news.
Yeah, was genuinely shocked to see that. So it split. That's split into Franny's and Mimi's when they had their big fight.
Right.
So I have just a couple tiny little, like, a true, did you see that? In the beginning of the episode, Amanda hugs Frankie because Frankie's going to leave. And she's like, I'm not going to get the chance to do that. Well, she has a tray full of coffees and she hugs her. The tray goes completely sideways. Like, if there was anything in there, Frankie would have been covered in hot coffee. It's the worst empty coffee cup moment.
Oh, man. That's how they like their coffee, just all over their clothes.
Yeah. Tiny, did you see that? Really love that Frank Jr.'s coworker at the Dude Chicken restaurant is named Jethro.
Yes.
I just loved it. Yes. I don't know why, but loved it. And this is a deep cut, but the voiceover this season, I'm assuming you did not watch the trash that is Love Island.
No. No, I've seen some of that, but no, not really.
Well, one of the key components of Love Island is their voiceover.
The narrator?
Host. Thank you. Yeah. And it's like dad jokes and puns the entire time.
Sure.
And he has a real deep Scottish accent. Anyway, the voiceover was giving me Ian from Love Island, but instead of dad jokes, it's Southern colloquialisms.
Yeah.
So that's it. Well, you are not new to the show. So you're the most rehearsed co-host we're going to have for the next 8 weeks. So probably nothing confused you because you were not brand new to this episode.
That's true. Yeah, I don't have my fresh eyes. My topic that was confusing was basically your what you just went over. Did you see that about where are they cooking? What is going on with the kitchens? They're bouncing back and forth. That was something I was just like, well, they're not clear on that. I assume the same thing as you. They're mainly working out of Franny's and Mimi's is just there because it's attached or is where her house was. I don't know. So that's something to hopefully they'll clear up, or I don't know. That was one thing. But yeah, nothing that I was like, that's weird. I don't get that. What's that all about? There was nothing because I did a little bit of background work there.
I don't know if this matters, but at the end of season 1, Caitlin, Shauna comes in and she's like, we're going to franchise this. And she's like, I got the town elders, that's not the word, the mayor to agree that we can have this franchise in town. But then in the recap of season 2, she says like, we're going to go into business again. They don't use the word franchise. So I wonder if they maybe realize like running these 3 chicken restaurants might be a lot. I don't know on this show. We're going to add a feathered friend of the week. Who really brought it for you this episode?
Well, May was great. May is always great. I felt like during season 1, during one of your reviews, you asked, or you read the books, right?
I did.
Okay. So, and when Wendy asked you, is she the focal point of the book? Because it felt like they were turning a little bit in the show to be, from her point of view, to have her sort of be the main focus. And I felt that too, watching the first season. And she, again, like she feels like a substantial focus for some reason. And she is great. Like, I really, really like May. I like her character. I like the way that she acts. Like, I think she's very good in the show. So she's all like a perpetual feathered friend, but the person who I like sat up straight when I saw was one Lachlan Monroe walking in as the town mayor, which to me, I love Lachlan Monroe. There's something about it. Yeah, he's just so fun in every role. And when they actually bring in the mayor, who they talk about in previous episodes, it tells me we're going to have some small town politicking going on, and they want us to know the mayor. And so I like that because that's fun. Like when they're just having problems and bickering and Lachlan Monroe's the one in the middle of it, I'm hoping that's going to be a really good time. So Lachlan Monroe as the mayor was my standout feathered friend here.
Well, I love that. I was really excited to see him join the cast too. And I hope, like you mentioned, we get a lot more of him. The entire time we're talking about, I know I made the Gilmore Girls comparison, but the comparisons abound. He's the Taylor of the show, the real nitpicky. It could be very interesting. So look, one of my favorite characters in this show is Shauna, played by Caitlin Howden.
Oh,
She's so good in this episode. She just delivers. She gives Amanda a smutty book to pass the time until she's ready to date. She turns every moment into a money-making opportunity.
Yeah.
She wants to shame Frank Jr. into signing the divorce papers, and she says some light public humiliation will do the trick. I just love her. She's so good. I'm so glad she's playing such a pivotal, strong role in this season. She's so good.
She is. She is so fun. Every time she's on screen, it's like, well, what's Shauna going to say? What's Shauna doing? What's she up to?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why don't you let people know where people can find you outside of this podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Deck the Hallmark, the podcast, once or twice, sometimes 3 times a week. I do all of the new Hallmark movies with Brandon and Dan, and we're going into fall, which I'm really happy about. Summer, it feels like it's been a very long summer. So we'll be reviewing all the fall movies and then the holiday movies coming up soon. And so that's where you can mainly find me.
It's about to get busy over there. It's always busy, but yeah. Thank you for joining us, Brian. This was so fun. Such a great inaugural kickoff episode. You set the bar very high for future co-hosts. And thank you for listening to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Bramble Jam podcast. If you love this podcast, we love your 5-star ratings and reviews. We'll be back next time with more Hallmark reviews. Goodbye. All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.